Welcome to this explainer. We all feel it, don't we? That low-level anxiety humming in the background every single time a new AI model does something totally uncanny, or writes a paper, or generates a hyper-realistic video out of thin air. But what if that generalized anxiety is actually pointed in the exact wrong direction? Today, we're unpacking some fascinating source material that forces us to completely rethink our relationship with the technology we use every single day.
Are we afraid of the wrong AI? We so often misdiagnose our fear of artificial intelligence as this Hollywood-style panic. We picture red-eyed cyborgs marching down the street, or a supercomputer suddenly deciding humanity is obsolete and launching a global takeover. It's a great plot for a movie, but as our source material reveals, it's also a massive misdirection. The reality of the threat is much quieter, honestly a lot more boring, but substantially more structural. And the absolutely crucial thing to understand here is that it's already happening right under our noses, embedded in the very devices we check 80 times a day.
The confusion between the tool and the system behind the tool. The core of our modern dilemma really boils down to this very simple confusion. Look, AI at its absolute foundation is just math and code. It's a tool. Think of it like a hammer. A hammer doesn't just wake up and decide to build a house, and it certainly doesn't decide to knock one down. The real issue, the thing we should be intensely focused on, is the invisible, systemic hand swinging that hammer. It's about the massive infrastructures, the corporate incentives, and the specific goals of the organizations deploying these models. If we just stare at the hammer, we completely miss the people building the house around us.
Let's compare the myth to the reality to really drive this home. The myth is that we're somehow at war with an autonomous, sentient machine operating in a vacuum. But the reality? The reality is that we should be having a highly rational conversation about governance, power centralization, and human intent. We aren't fighting a rogue machine, we're fighting the human intent embedded inside it. Think about it. If a company's business model relies entirely on making you angry so you stay engaged and keep clicking, the AI optimizing your feed isn't inherently evil. It's just perfectly executing the blueprint of its creators. It takes the incentives, the blind spots, and the power structures of whoever writes its architecture and scales them up exponentially.
The shift in control.
To truly understand why this matters, we have to look at how the methods of influencing the public have fundamentally transformed. We're talking about a monumental, largely invisible shift toward algorithmic control. Think about the shared reality of the 1960s or 70s. We lived under a broadcast model. If a corporation, a news network, or a government was pushing a narrative, everyone gathered around the television and got the exact same top-down message. Because of that, manipulation was highly visible. You could discuss it, debate it at the water cooler, push back against it across a shared social context. But today's algorithmic model? Completely different. It's a hyper-personalized, one-to-one interaction. The AI tailors information, outrage, and recommendations directly to your individual psychology. Two people can sit on the exact same couch, open the exact same app, and be fed entirely different realities.
Choice architecture. This brings us to a really profound concept detailed in the text. Choice architecture is the invisible framing of recommendations and interfaces that subtly shapes an individual's perception and autonomy. Imagine walking into a supermarket, but the moment you step through the doors, the aisles instantly rearrange themselves based on your deepest psychological profile, putting exactly what will tempt you most right at eye level. And here's the kicker. It does this without you ever realizing that your supermarket looks completely different from the person walking in right behind you. Algorithms subtly manipulate your decisions in this exact same way. You think you're making a free, independent choice, but the architecture of the platform has been meticulously designed to guide you down a very specific path. This fracturing of our shared reality makes it incredibly hard to find consensus, and honestly, that is the true, hidden power of algorithmic control.
Who rules the code?
So if that's the fragmented landscape we're currently navigating, what's the pragmatic path forward? Because technology inevitably advances. Attempting to halt AI development completely is practically impossible. You can't put the technological genie back in the bottle, and trying to do so is strategically misdirected anyway. Instead, our focus has to shift. The critical leverage point lies in how these systems are designed and who holds authority over them. The answer isn't fighting the technology, it's fiercely questioning the architect. Who designs the rules of the game? Who sets the parameters for what goes viral and what gets suppressed? That is exactly where we need to direct our intense scrutiny.
So how do we actually fix this? Well, our source material lays out a highly pragmatic three-pillar blueprint for ethical governance moving forward. These are structural changes that society absolutely needs to demand. We're talking about democratizing architecture, transparency over black boxes, and protecting human autonomy.
First up, democratizing architecture. If control remains centralized, meaning locked within a tiny handful of massive tech corporations or authoritarian regimes, the system naturally defaults towards surveillance and behavior modification. And what does behavior modification actually look like? It means subtly nudging your consumer habits, your political leanings, and your daily routines to benefit the platform's bottom line, not your well-being. That's why we have to actively push for democratized architecture. This means shared societal control over how models are trained, what ethical guardrails are put in place, and how these massive data streams are managed. We need a voice in the foundation of the architecture itself, so that it serves the public rather than just extracting from us.
The second pillar is transparency over black boxes. Have you ever wondered why a platform suddenly flooded your feed with a specific type of political video? Or why a totally harmless post was suddenly suppressed? Right now, that process is a complete black box. We feed these systems data, they spit out a result, but we have absolutely no idea what calculations happen in the middle. We desperately need open frameworks, inspectable algorithms, and decentralized governance. Society must have the ability to audit exactly why an AI model recommends a certain video or outputs a particular answer. Without that transparency, we're just blindly trusting the choice architects to have our best interests at heart, and honestly, that's a huge gamble.
Reclaiming human autonomy.
This third pillar represents the ultimate objective of all ethical system design moving forward. Tools must serve human health, reasoning, and self-determination. The goal here shouldn't be to artificially restrict what technology is capable of doing. Artificial intelligence can do miraculous things. It can cure diseases, optimize green energy grids, and wildly expand human creativity. But the core goal has to be preserving your individual agency. We need to ensure these tools are built from the ground up to elevate human reasoning and expand your capabilities, rather than just optimizing for data extraction to keep you scrolling endlessly in a state of passive consumption. Basically, we want tools that make us smarter, not platforms that make us entirely dependent.
As we wrap up this explainer, we really need to take this source material and use it to reframe the debate entirely. The next time you feel that wave of anxiety about the future of AI, don't look up at the horizon for some sci-fi villain. Look down at the device you use every single day. Look at the algorithms that curate your news, your entertainment, and your social interactions. And as you do, ask yourself this final, absolutely crucial question. Who designs the rules, who owns the infrastructure, and whose interests does the code in your pocket actually serve?